Pardon me while I have a strange interlude.
There is nothing else. Life is an obscure hobo bumming a ride on the omnibus of art.
Along the misty corridors of time, and in those corridors I see figures, strange figures.
Welcome back, my friends, to the AP Strange Show. I am your host, AP Strange. This is my show, and tonight's show is brought to you by Paranoia Stabilizers. If you need a little bit of stabilization for your paranoia, the stabilizers are good for you. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, but the stabilizers will help you have a clear and level head to deal with whatever comes your way. Paranoia Stabilizers, a proud sponsor of the AP Strange Show. And tonight on the show, I have an old friend on, and he's going to be a great guest, and this is going to be a lot of fun because he is one of the hosts of Conspirinormal, one of the first podcasts that was ever nice enough to have me on to do my thing, and I'm eternally grateful for it. He's a great guy. You know him. You love him. Adam Sayne, welcome to the show.
Oh, they know me and they love me. That's great to hear.
People like you.
Thanks for thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you inviting me to come on.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it'd been too long since I heard your voice because the show has been kind of on hiatus for a bit. But yeah,
were you one of the were we the first you ever went on, or was there
the first podcast appearance I ever did was on Some Other Sphere, which is hosted by Rick Palmer out of the UK, and then I think shortly thereafter I was on your show, so you might have been the second podcast I was ever on.
Yeah.
I can tell you though, I was very excited. I remember because I hadn't been very many places yet, so or gotten my voice out there that many times. So I remember being at work and getting a message back from you and being like, "Holy shit!" Because I loved your show, and I always did.
Well, thank you.
I never missed an episode of you and Surfiel because it was always great personalities and great conversation and great weird topics.
Yeah, we had a lot of people on over the years. I mean, I just kind of stopped doing the show back in March. Just dealing with some personal things, and I just just kind of wanted to take a break for a little bit. But we're gonna be getting back, probably doing episode 500 at some point. So I don't know. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, everybody. I guess we'll be back at some point. But
yeah,
that's the plan. I want to get back. I want to get back into things. A little bit. Here and there.
What year did you start doing the show?
2012.
2012. Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So 13 years then.
Yeah, we did it for 13 years. Like I was the one consistent member. It was like I had actually, my old co-host Luke was who I started out with. And we had Rob who joined us for a while, and then Surfiel joined. Surfiel was with me for 6-7 years.
I think
2018 to 2025.
I started listening during the Surfiel era. So
yeah. I think a lot of people did. But we were around doing it for a while. And I was also doing the Strange Realities Conference and all that as well too. So I just kind of stopped doing it for a little bit, just to kind of get a rest.
Oh
from
man,
a
after
lot of
13
things.
years, I mean, I don't. Nobody could blame you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was yeah, man. Well, it's like it's I want to get back into it because I just, I miss the people that I used to talk to, and um a lot of them have become over the years have become my friends, and like, you yourself, you and I have hung out in real life. We did
Yeah,
that a couple of years ago in Portland, Maine.
yeah,
So like, the people, it's something that feels like a community to me of people, and you know, I mean, just when I start doing shows again, I'm pretty much going to do some shows with the people that I've always done shows with, just to talk to them again, and maybe we'll start seeing some new things on the horizon. Um, Still need to do episode 500.
yeah,
Uh, so I was kind of at this point with the podcast where I was kind of just like, I don't know. We got to the point where we were just kind of like worn out by what we were doing, of like having to try to do it every single week. And so um it just became eventually like, let's do it every 2 weeks. And so it just kind of starts
yeah,
dropping off a little bit.
yeah,
And so it's just like, it's like, what do I do with this thing? Am I gonna end it? Am I not gonna end it? So what I kind of like eventually decided was like, I'm just going to take a break and see how I feel. And really, like, instead of like episode 500 being like the farewell that we thought it was going to be, I'm just going to, use that as kind of just like a way to just kind of come back with it for a little bit.
yeah.
Probably not going to do like a weekly show. I mean, I'm just going to kind of do, maybe like once every 2 weeks or
Hmm.
whatever, also I've got all the strange reality stuff from the last like few years that um I need to get up as well on like a YouTube channel for people to see, so and
Yeah,
probably
that'll
some
be good.
older Conspirinormal episodes that are not on the YouTube channel. I'd like to, edit those down because a lot of the stuff we used to talk a lot about politics on the show, and we used to do those like a pre, interview thing. So like a lot of that shit I could just like cut out and put up online.
Yeah,
So, the one of the things that's great about podcasting or great about what we do, man, is like, it's like long form interview.
yeah,
That's the great part of it. And it's not just like a sound bite. And I always felt that like Conspirinormal is like you kind of had to know like we weren't really good at explaining things. So possibly. So I think that's may actually be where that comes from. But like you kind of had to know like kind of what we are talking about. Like you kind of had to know like the basics of the Mothman. Like we're not gonna like cover like, by the way, there's this the Mothman. And like, you hear a lot of podcasts do that,
hmm,
that like how many more do we need about the Mothman? But like some of the stuff that we talked about was like you kind of had to know the basic story and like so um I think so. I think a lot of people appreciated that. It's like if you were trying to dig deeper into these topics, and where the road goes a lot like that too.
yeah,
And banal shows as well. Um, Banal's like really a great interviewer. Like he's one of the best
I know.
that I've heard. I will, I
I told
always
him on
enjoy
his,
listening to his shows.
yeah, on his anniversary show, I told him that he's an inspiration for me when I'm doing interviews because I'm just like, what would Banal do?
Yeah, man. The thing is like I actually had never really listened to Manal's show until I met him.
Yeah,
Um, and I had heard him on Where Did the Road Go? I think he was on there once, and that was about it. So I knew who he was, but I never had actually listened to the show. And when I finally was like, okay, I'll sit down and listen to the show after having him on a few times, but I actually met him in person first,
Yeah.
and like, but like he's done a really good job with like the BOA revival. I've been listening to that pretty religiously since he started doing it.
Hmm.
So, he's really always like really at ease with his guests and, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but I enjoy, I still really enjoy the format of, um, the long form format too. So,
Yeah. I think nowadays people gravitate so much towards the TikTok style of very short clips and
absolutely.
reels,
Yeah.
and I really it doesn't jive with me. And for people out there, I'm sorry if this describes you, but if you send me little short form videos via instant messenger, I probably am not watching them because I just don't like that format. So I haven't been doing it. I'm like, it would be probably my mother's the biggest offender, and I know my mom doesn't listen to the show, but I will get like 10 crappy little reels from Facebook a day. And I just have to reply LOL so that she thinks I watched it because I won't open it, uh but that's kind of what you have to do to like promote a podcast now, is have these little clips and or anything you're doing online, content creation. I bristle whenever I hear that term. I don't know about you, but like I'm just like, when did everything become content? Why can't it be a conversation or an interview or like something
No, I
with,
know. I
yeah.
know. I know. I know. It's pretty sad, like the level. uh, I mean, when I first started doing this, it's like, I thought at the time that podcasts were like, there were a lot of podcasts. I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know how I would like jump into this because like there seems to be a lot of podcasts, but it was really just like my own perception of that world, right? Not very many people in 2012 knew really what all that was still.
Yeah.
Um, but now it's gone way more than it could possibly, than there's way more than you could possibly ever listen to in your life.
Yeah. That's for
And
sure.
it's one of those things that has changed the way that people listen to, music or listen to
Hmm.
anything really. Um, but like, even the podcasts have had to go through this like, so I guess you don't do the short form, edit your reel, edit like you and I would be talking and you'd have like some flashing lights on the reel. It's
Yeah.
just like,
No,
I
I
can't believe what this man just said. That's the title of the,
right. And then I got to
but
have my eyes real wide for the
right. It's just like it's like there's this one that I see on Instagram. I won't tell you the name of the podcast, but it's absurd, and it's like uh, it's just it's a faith. It's kind of a Christian based show, so evangelical kind of like these people believe that Bigfoot is Nephilim,
yeah.
these type of people, and they're talking but it's all the mixture of like the cryptids and like biblical prophecy, and like
Yeah.
it's just weird. The people on there are just probably mentally disturbed, or they're just making it up,
Hmm.
which if they are, that's excellent. It's like some Andy Kaufman shit.
Right.
And like but just saying just like the craziest things that you could possibly imagine. And but these things just get like a ton of engagement. And it's a way to get people to possibly come and listen to your show,
Hmm.
right? But it's just, so I guess you don't do that. I guess you don't put the short form on your Instagram and
Yeah. Well,
stories and
I have tried it. I've dabbled a little, just taking like a quick sound clip and putting like a still image with it,
right,
because I don't
right.
use the video from this. I just publish the
Okay.
audio. So even on YouTube,
Yeah.
usually it's just, whatever
Yeah.
image I generate, it's going to be, yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, I think it's like there's people that like the short form, and then there's people that like the long form, and you know, it's it almost feels like in between is kind of gone, but
yeah,
it's an interesting media environment that we find ourselves in. And I
yeah, for
think,
sure.
I think with, bringing, coming back to Conspirinormal, there's a lot less for me about trying to do this to have any kind of like internet clout or anything like that. It's not why I want to do it. It's just that I want to come back and just to get back into it, you know. Because I feel like a lot of us is like that are creators or whatever, quote unquote, we're content creators now. Well, I used to be a podcaster. Now I guess I'm a content creator. That these people, it's just so much of it, I think, is just like you can feel like you're like running on a hamster wheel a little bit
Yeah.
and trying to like constantly keep up with other people that might be around you, or you're trying to constantly keep up with this internet, with this whole like internet culture, which is almost virtually impossible if you're not Gen Z.
Hmm.
So it's like uh, I just personally felt like, man, I'm just like running on this wheel, and it's like, and like some of the joy got taken out of it, but now I feel like I just want to, just want to come back and do it for myself. And I think it's what this needs to be, really. It needs to just be about like what your personal, as long as we have personal expression, right? Uh
Yeah.
let's give that caveat. As long as we have that personal expression, you should, it's your space, it's your domain. And it's like
Yeah.
also one of the things that I really, when I started Conspirinormal, a lot of the reason I started it was because I wanted to talk to these people. I'd gone to the people that I had on the show. I wanted to talk to them. And a lot of them were like, I just had like a list in my head of like, I want to talk to this person. I want to talk to that person. I want to, I'd spend a lot of time going to like conferences and conventions and stuff when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And I really
Hmm.
wanted to, you know, talk to, I'm like, if I have a show, I want to bring all these people on and talk to them about each individual thing, because it's like I listened to podcasts too. And I was just like, I'd like to ask that question. And you know what? I will have the ability to ask that question because I'm going to start my own thing and get these people on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I think it's just a more of of finding that I think like a little bit of personal joy in it too. It's nice.
Yeah.
And
The joy is important.
it's something that I would like to get back to
Right.
myself.
The joy and the curiosity and actually reaching out to people. Because I mean, it's one thing to listen to people all the time, but sometimes you have stuff you want to say or you want to really press them on, or just let them know that you appreciate the stuff they're doing. So
Right.
uh,
Yeah. And I mean, and yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing. Like, really one of the coolest things that we like with Surfiel and I, we kind of like this is kind of something that I think just kind of grew organically
mhm.
out of a respect for people that like people that I had seen on like Unsolved Mysteries, people that I had
Yeah,
read about like when I was like a teenager in the 90s, you know. And it became very cool to eventually be able to actually talk to and interact with these people.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like, and I felt a real sense of like, you know, these older kind of like you can call them the OGs of the paranormal or ufology or cryptozoology, whatever have you. Like, like it's like Surfiel compared it to like it's like the folkways recordings. It's like we're
yeah.
recording these people. And I know other people were doing it, obviously, but I felt like it was just something personal. It was a um
Archive.
personal log, basically. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
archive. Yeah, that's exactly the word. It was a personal archive of these people, and like being able to like do something like talk to Timothy Green Beckley. You know, we
Hmm.
had him on twice. I mean, the guy's just, Beckley was he was a showman. We'll just put
Yeah.
it that way. And, but like just the wealth of just knowledge and experience that the man had of, and you're talking about shit like him hanging out with like the New York Dolls,
Right.
like it's totally, and when I met Peter Robbins, whose sister was, you know, Helen Wheels, who was big on the CBGB scene, just having that connection to something like that too was really cool for me because I was like, it was like formative shit when I was a teenager, you
Right.
know. So it, it's just something like that is like a real privilege of like knowing those people. And I feel like now it's just kind of like there's a lot of people that have these podcasts that I'm sounding like an old man yelling at cloud, but like there are a lot of young people that have these podcasts that are just like um let me read this shit off of Wikipedia, and hey man,
Oh yeah.
I'm going do that too. I've read shit off of Wikipedia too. I've used Wikipedia as a source, whatever, if you're lazy is what you do. But like, the thing is that they that's all they do. And there's no like, why don't you want to talk to like Lauren Coleman?
Right.
Why don't you want to talk to Peter Robbins or talk to these people that have been doing this that are new people that you're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
let's do something about uh Bud Hopkins.
Yeah.
Let's do something about Bud Hopkins. But it's just but like, hey, well, hey, Peter Robbins is very so much alive. Why don't you talk to him? And they'll just be
Right.
like, who? They don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, and uh, doing cool things like with like Strange Realities when I had Alan Greenfield, and we actually that same episode I was trying to get Alan Greenfield, Timothy Green Beckley, and Brent Rains. There's a lot of people who don't know Brent. Have you talked to Brent? Have you had him on the show?
I plan to eventually. I haven't asked him
Yeah.
yet, but
Yeah, you
I've
absolutely
talked to
should.
him privately, like
Yeah,
before, and yeah, yeah.
yeah, you absolutely should. I mean, Brent is he's an amazing guy that a lot of people don't know about. He lives like 100 miles away from me, somewhere in West Tennessee,
Hmm.
and like, you know, the guy has been a ufology buff since the 60s when he was in his teens.
Yeah. Well,
I
same as
think that's
Greenfield and Beckley.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He wrote a book about, a few years ago about John Keel that is great. And he's had,
Hmm.
had conversations with Keel. He's published his own magazine, his own like monthly magazine since like I think the 70s.
Yeah.
And like he just is a wealth of knowledge, and you know, like he knows like Greg Little, the guy who all about the mounds, which is somebody that I never got the chance to talk to, and or should rectify that. But talk to
Yeah.
somebody
And
like Brett Reed,
for
you know?
listeners, for listeners, Greg Little's in Brent Rains magazine all the time. I
Yeah,
think he's
yeah,
in
they're
like
good
every.
friends. They're good
So
friends.
yeah, alternate perceptions magazine, which I think is all online
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, yeah. But the
Uh,
guy's been, and he has audio. He has audio interviews on there,
yeah.
like a ton of audio interviews. And Brent
Right.
is just someone, he's someone that I did not know about at all. And until I did the first Strange Realities conference in 2019.
Oh yeah. Didn't he just show
And
up?
yeah, I mean, he asked me if he could speak. I said, well, I've already got things settled, but like, you know, please feel free to come. I would love for you to come.
Hmm.
Um, and I had no I had no idea. Like a couple of months before he was speaking at that thing that Surfy and I went to in Knoxville, the Alien Con. But it was he was I didn't know who he was. And that was actually through Angelia Shear, who was she's passed on. She was the head of the MUFON chapter here in Nashville. And but like one of my proudest moments really was like, getting him and Alan Greenfield together in
Yeah.
2021 for the first time. And like they were talking to each other. And I said, Alan, like, when was the last time you saw Brent? He says, well, I've known Brent for a very long time, but I haven't seen him in over 30 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it's like doing something like that, man, is like, like, I mean, that's extraordinarily valuable. I think much more valuable than,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, it would have been great to get
here's the
him
latest
and
reel.
those two and Beckley on a show would have been great. But Beckley passed
Yeah.
away too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
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 Yeah. Beckley passed away not too long after that, maybe like a few
Right.
months.
Yeah.
But like Greenfield was just late and Beckley had to leave. So they just missed each other. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean, all those guys were just, because Brent knew those guys. They all were corresponding back in the 60s and 70s when they were really young. And yeah, so um, I've had Greenfield on plenty of times.
Yeah.
Greenfield is Greenfield is Greenfield.
He's a trip.
He is an absolute trip.
I've interviewed him 3 times now, and I feel like he and I weirdly like really get along. Like we're kind of right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah,
Same sense of
yeah,
humor, same energy. I don't really, we wouldn't have expected it, but
yeah. Well, I mean, he definitely. I mean, it's like, I mean, I think with Hellier, like he hit his like little renaissance there, and he was trying to, I think, get as much of it as he could. So, more power to him.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but he's another one. He's another interesting person. Just being so big into ufology, but then also being an occultist as well,
hmm
and all of the interesting things about that. The
yeah.
what was it? He calls the Lima the ancient venerated order of antiquity or something like that.
The
Something
ancient order of antiquity that
yeah,
shall not be named.
there's some bad blood. There's some
Yeah.
bad blood there apparently. We'll
He
just
always
leave it at
throws in
that.
the that shall not be named at the end of it. The
That
ancient order
shall
of
not be
antiquity.
named.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Okay, we know who you're talking about, Alan.
yeah. His ears are
So, by the
burning
way, I
right
don't
now.
know if it's quite as organized as I know he's being facetious, but I don't know if it's quite as organized as he thinks it may be. I don't know.
Right. So let me ask
Uh,
you: Do you still think he's Terry Wrist? Because I think that was you had brought that up before,
did
but
I ever bring that up on the show? Maybe I did.
I thought
Do
you
I?
asked him point blank when he was on once.
I don't think we actually did. I think what you're thinking of is Banal asked him point blank
Oh,
in
okay,
the at the Best Western. Do I think he's Terry Wrist? Yes.
okay.
But it's also possible. It's also possible that a couple other guys were also terrorists, that they were doing this together. It's kind of like the Zodiac killer. Um,
uh,
you you kind of have to understand, and I was actually there hanging around, going down from Chattanooga a lot at the time, but you kind of got to understand how weird like little Five Points area in Atlanta was in the 90s. Like there was a
mhm,
lot of people hanging out there, like it was just kind of just like, I mean, Kerry Thornley was
yeah.
hanging out there in the 90s. He was just living in the back room of a bookstore.
Mhm.
So I mean, I feel like there was just a lot of like prankster type of left wing shit that was going on. You, you know, I think that's what that is. I mean, Alan, he's he's huge into science fiction. Like, I mean, he
Yeah.
told me, you know, like he told me that he organized because we were talking about strange realities. I was on the phone with him, and you know, he told me about how he was doing science fiction, conferences back in the 70s. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's like, like he didn't have Eventbrite, so you're doing it in other ways. But somehow I found it just as impossible. But that's a whole other story. But like the so I feel like he's just a fan. I feel like he's a fan of science fiction. I feel like he's a fan of like Jim Moseley.
Mhm.
Jim Moseley, and what's the other one that was in
Gary
West
Barker.
Virginia? Gary Barker, yeah. That he's a
Yeah.
fan of Barker and Moseley, and those two guys were just like, very much just like they would deliberately call in hoaxes,
Yeah.
right? And then watch people actually see shit.
Yeah. I mean, not only a fan, but he knew them personally
Right.
and
So
worked with them.
I
So
think there's a lot of like and Alan actually, we beat around the bush. We got this out of him on Conspirinormal on one of the episodes that he said we he said well there's no such thing as hoaxes.
Mhm.
In other words, yes, there are hoaxes, but the hoax can cause real. So like this is magical. This is like this is occult thinking, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Like you can manifest your reality by, and in this case, it's like a prankster, jokester type of thing. But you're manifesting. You can essentially manifest it.
Yeah.
And I think this is really what, they were trying. This is what they were, them, the Newkirks and John and Tinney. I think that's what they were trying to do with Hellier was, it's a magical working
Mhm.
manifestation. Let's manifest this. Let's make people aware of the power of synchronicity and all
Yeah.
these things. And of course, Alan, he's even though he's broken from Thelema, he's still a Thelemite, so that all that imagery is in there.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that's what it is. I mean, I would say probably the terrorist thing was something he was doing, and then I don't remember the guy's name, but he was a publishing house there in Atlanta. Um, I'll kind of give you an idea of how like some like how kind of those people were, So like I can remember it's about like 1999, I think, and I was down in Little Five Points. I didn't live in Atlanta yet, so I was still living in Chattanooga, but we went down, it's like an hour and a
Yeah.
half away. So you go down, hang out at Little Five Points. We're going to go see a show. That's what we used to do a lot. Go see a show in Little Five Points in Atlanta. So we're hanging out in the bookstore, Acapella Books, actually, where probably like not even a year before Harry Thornley had been staying before he died. Um,
Hmm.
Also Sandra London, she lived down there too. And that's how she knew Carrie Thornley because she ran into
Yeah.
him in Atlanta, And so if you ever want somebody really interesting to have on your show, you should get Sandra London. That's a wild ride. But uh yeah, it's like my I'm free associating on you here, but like there's this like I have a weird like few degrees of separation to the Kennedy assassination now because I met Sandra London,
Okay.
because she knew Carrie Thornley, and then of course who did Carrie Thornley know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
So it's only like what 3 degrees of separation. It's like, oh, I know somebody that knew someone that knew Lee Harvey Oswald. That's interesting.
Yeah.
and was interviewed by and was actually harassed by Jim Garrison.
Right.
Um,
Right.
which is probably not one of Jim Garrison's finest moments.
And the original Principia Discordia was printed in
Yep,
Garrison's office.
yep,
Using
yep, yep.
mimeograph.
As the story goes, yeah. But I mean, by the time Thornley, like I think by the time she knew him, and she's even said this, like he was really bad, like schizophrenic.
Right.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
lost it. And but so we're in this bookstore and we're hanging out, and we're looking at the books, and like all of a sudden, like this guy just walks in and he's like, "Do you have a book about how to train German shepherds? It's either by like a guy named Ehrlichman or Eichmann."
Hmm.
And the two guys at the counter are just like, no, we don't carry that book here. We don't have that, And it's like, oh, and the guy's like eventually like, okay, well, I guess I think he spells the names or something and he leaves. And then these
Hmm.
guys start talking about like that was weird how this guy came in and started asking like one was like, a White House Nixon's White House aide. The other one was a Nazi. Like I don't
Right.
And I look back on that, and I'm almost like thinking to myself, like, was that actually for us? Of like these guys were just putting on some weird, like, let's fuck with these two kids
Like a
scene,
theater thought. Yeah.
like I mean, I really appreciated it. I thought it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Well, I feel like
But
some of the
like,
Men in Black stuff is like that too, where it's like Men in Black will
yeah,
just show
yeah,
up and say something
yeah.
bizarre. It could just be
Yeah, it
somebody
was a very
messing with
weird
people.
thing, but I just it was just I think it was just like this culture that was kind of really around like the kind of like apocalypse culture books and the Feral House
Mm.
stuff, and like there's a lot of misfits that would hang out down there in Little Five, and uh, Greenfield was one of them.
Right.
So I mean, I think man, like I remember that time period. Like shit was like, fucking weird Xerox shit was everywhere. And
Hmm.
when you look at like Greenfield's, stuff, like the terrorist, the picture, it just looks like one of those things that you would have seen on a fucking like, fire pole, little five, all the fucking,
Yeah. Taped up
staples
on a
all over the
utility pole.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was so I just think it's just the nexus. Like it's a really roundabout way of explaining the question, but like I think it's just a nexus of like them just being weirdos, left wing weirdos,
Right.
make it look like it's a right winger, and of course Greenfield knows the Darrow shit. He knows the fucking you know all that.
Hmm.
Why am I blanking on this? I'm actually like think I'm in a movie with this guy,
The
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 Darrow guy,
shaver.
Shaver
Yeah.
Mysteries. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Shaver Mysteries. Yeah, I got interviewed by Dean Bertram for me and Sophia when we were in Seattle last year. They interviewed us for what we thought about this, which
That's awesome.
I think he's put that up, but I haven't seen the finished product. So if he's listening, he can let me know if that's actually in there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you got to
But
watch out for those Darrows.
you do, you do, you do. You have to watch out. What do they call? What are they? The destructive robots or something, or detrimental robots? Isn't that what
Detrimental
they?
robots. Yeah.
Detrimental robots. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that makes me think. Talk about free associating, but we're just kind of jamming here anyway. Organic robotoids, the Peter Beater stuff.
Organic, the Peter Beater. Yeah, yeah.
I've been
Organic
thinking about that
robots.
lately because
Well, I
I,
mean, that keep you up. That should keep you up at night.
well, I think like it wasn't that long ago. Trump was tweeting about how Joe Biden actually died and like was replaced by a clone. Uh,
What did
uh,
he?
he retweeted somebody talking about that,
Oh yeah, yeah.
or not retweeted. I guess it was on Truth Social or whatever.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago, and I was just like, I'm like, these are the organic robotoids. you know, uh,
Like Greg Bishop told me the other day when they were still here, we actually got on the subject about Peter Beater for some
yeah,
weird reason, and like he said that like his name was like Henry Peter Beater or something like that. So like he chose to use his last name, which was Peter Beater. Peter Beater. You would either you were just completely naive as to how that sounds, or you did it on
yeah.
purpose.
Wasn't it Doctor Peter Beater?
Like I thought it was unfortunate. Yes, I thought that was
Right,
unfortunately his name, but he
right,
could have chosen his first name and been Henry Beater. But I
yeah,
guess that's not as good as Peter Beater.
yeah, yeah. Did you ever
So
have
I
any of
don't
those
know.
cassette tapes?
Do I have it? I don't think I've ever actually listened to any of those, besides what maybe Julius put on his show about it.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
I'm sure it's just completely insane. I don't know if I want to listen to stuff like that because I might start believing it. You
Right,
know, like it's just a lot of this stuff like works that way, right? You just listen to it constantly, and then you're just like, oh yeah, I totally get that. That's like completely makes sense, even though it doesn't.
right. Well, you
It's,
choose those reality tunnels. You got to be
I mean,
careful with
it's like
reality tunnels. Yeah,
I think if you listen to, I mean, if you listen to Julius's podcast
yeah,
about Peter Beater, if you listen to that, like
yeah. Oh,
his, I
yeah,
think he might have done 2 episodes about him.
yeah. It was 2 or 3 parts. I can't
Um,
remember. Yeah,
but he starts out as like this pretty like normal, oh, like, we got to end the Federal Reserve. We
hmm,
can't have this thing, this is the creature from Jekyll Island, that kind of the G. Edward Griffin, John Birch Society shit, just that
yeah,
same stuff. And like, so he starts out from there, but then, oh, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds are fighting. And then all of a sudden there's like a secret space program and like they're wanting to move off planet and they're fighting each other on the moon, but we don't know about it. And they've replaced certain people in the world population with organic robotoids, and we don't know who's an organic robotoid and who isn't. So,
right.
but this is why we should end the Federal Reserve. Like, this is the kind of leaps in logic that people do.
Right.
Like, I will tell you that, you know, you have to, but it's great because it just adds so much to the culture. It really
It
does. Stuff like that just adds so much to the culture, but now it's just people we've lost kind of the joy and conspiracy of just like laughing at it and knowing it's insane and maybe
right.
believing it just a little bit.
Yeah.
We've lost that joy in that because
Hmm.
now it's just like everything's a fucking conspiracy every time you turn around. It's been like this for years,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I mean, after 9/11, it was just
Right.
out of control. I mean,
Yeah. Ever
things
since
started
like
getting out of control.
the Zeitgeist film came out, I think that kind of like broke a lot of people's
Yeah, but
brains.
yeah, I think that had some influence, which I've never actually sat down and watched that.
I've never seen the whole thing,
But
but then the internet, the proliferation of social media and people sharing ideas widely and slowly getting less discerning critically with what they consume.
oh,
You know,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's. Well, Sergio L sends me like, he'll send me stuff from TikTok or shit that's like taken from TikTok that's on Instagram or whatever, and it's just some of the craziest shit, man. I
mm.
mean,
Was he on
like,
top of the recent rapture that didn't happen?
oh, yeah, I think I was a little more on top of that one,
Okay,
but I was just like, okay,
yeah,
again. I mean, like, dude, I'm 49 years old. Like, at this point, like, I remember when that shit was gonna happen in 1988, and I was 12. Do you
were you
remember
scared
this?
then?
I was just a little perplexed. And I think it was around September because
Yeah.
obviously God, commemorates Rosh Hashanah, right? It makes total sense.
Yeah.
But I think it was, yeah. But there was like 88 reasons why the world would end in 1988.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that? Like I remember seeing this kind of shit. And then 2011, like the Herald camping, they
Right.
had signs, dude. I don't know if they did that in Massachusetts, but here in Nashville, in the fucking Bible Belt, they had signs about like the rapture is coming and shit. And then there was another group that like in I think 2020, yeah, somewhere in 2020, it was like
Yeah.
God says Nashville is going to get nuked. And I mean, I can tell you that didn't happen. So, you
Yeah.
know, uh,
Uh,
it's, I mean, but this seems to have been the one for TikTok.
right.
And you got to wonder how much of these things are really like, generating, like someone is generating this. Someone is, I think there's been, if I'll get a little conspiratorial on you if you want
Sweet.
me to, but
Yeah.
like I really think like the flat earth was like this beta test. Like they were
Yes.
like that was like I don't know who was doing it. So yeah, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the organic robotoids, the reptilians, Jesuits. I don't know
Zeros.
who.
Yeah.
The Zeros. I don't know who was doing it.
It
Maybe they
might have
were all
been,
working. We were all working together. It was the
yeah,
mob, um,
satanic moon people.
satanic moon people, the blue avians.
Yeah.
How many of these can we just list off at this point of just this absolute just
So many.
garbage?
Yeah.
But it just uh,
The international
and a lot of
bankers.
it, yeah, a lot of it's propaganda, too. So there's
Yeah.
that. But the uh I lost my train of thought, dude.
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
know where you were going. Because
Yeah,
I'm
refresh
glad
me.
you said this because I've thought this too, and I thought I was the only one. But I really do think Flat Earth was a propaganda campaign just to see how absurd, like the extremity of absurd belief that could catch on and go viral. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And so this was about what? This was like 2015 that this
right, yeah.
started, maybe a little earlier than that.
They just got like a rapper with some clout to start tweeting about it.
EOB.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah. And there was, yeah, I mean, I think probably like, that was something that was being engineered by somebody.
mhm,
And really, who knows who that is? I mean, I think that like um, it could be a private company that did that.
mhm.
It could be a foreign entity that did that. Um, but it's interesting that, QAnon happens like the flat earth stuff kind of just dies down, right? It's kind of like this vociferous thing of all these people like, like it becomes its own little subculture. Like Benalgo, he's going to like the flat earth conventions and shit like that. So he can tell you a little more about it. But like it becomes its own little subculture, but like the attention like really kind of dies down on that. And then all of a sudden you've got Pizzagate, um, QAnon comes off of that. And QAnon really just kind of follows the same pattern
Right.
as the flat earth stuff. It
Mhm.
just is, it's the same patterns, the same mechanisms involved. It's, and and even when the flat earth stuff was going on, this is when you've got, you know, all this like influence from Russia, China, Iran, who the fuck knows who else
Yeah.
on our internet and like spreading memes and simplistic things and like it yeah. So I mean I think that was I felt at the time, man, I felt at the time that like that was a beta test for let's see if we can actually make people believe the earth is flat because it's so stupid and so outlandish. But let's
Yeah.
see if people, and it should be so obvious. Let's see what we
Right.
can make these people believe.
Yeah, and all the points that people had believed in the past, because I mean, flat Earth wasn't a new thing. This is an argument that has
Correct.
come up time and time again for hundreds of
Correct.
years. So like they already
But it's
had
considered to be absurd.
right, but they had all the points that people would make ready to go. So all they had to do is
Right.
seed all those out, right? And
Right.
it's enough
Right.
to
Right.
convince some people.
Dox people, shut down the
Yeah,
argument. These things
yeah,
that have been going on in chat rooms for a long time,
yep,
where like you you just find people that can perpetuate this idea.
mhm,
And I think this is something that's been going on for a while. I mean, I think that there's how you perpetuate memes or ideas into people's heads, you know, but the most effective way has been through social media.
mhm,
And now, going back to what we were talking about before at the beginning of this, like, how social media is designed for just short attention span. There's
right.
no, you're just like, oh man, did you know, dude, that like the Parthenon in Nashville is part of ancient Tartaria? I didn't know that. This guy says it.
Right. Tartaria. See, that's the dumbest one, I think, is Tartaria. I'm sure they're going to go dumber at some point, but
Well, I mean, they're showing, pictures from 19th century World's Fairs and early 20th century World's Fairs, and showing these pictures and saying, obviously this was a great civilization. What happened to it? Where did it go?
yeah,
It's like, what?
it's astounding. Um, but I guess you could fool people that never leave their house, maybe. like,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one is like that. If there is one that I would have to tag as a Russian propaganda, it's definitely that one
right.
because they're talking about a large empire in the middle of Central Asia.
Yeah, yeah,
I wonder who they're really talking about. And then
right.
there's this whole thing. I don't know if you ever looked into this. This is a really weird, like, there's this really weird, like, I think there's like two sets of ideas. There's like this really weird Russian revisionist history where they say that, like, basically, like, the Middle Ages never actually happened.
Oh, yeah,
And there's like it's called the missing time hypothesis. So like Charlemagne and all these different people in Western Europe are actually made up, or they're confused with other people uh from other historical periods that just happen to be more closer to Russia.
yeah.
Odd how that works. And like they so I think the Tataria thing is kind of like this weird offshoot of that idea,
That makes a lot of
you
sense. I
know.
wouldn't have thought of
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
yeah,
So some of these things have basis in like somebody else's crackpot ideas. I think this guy, this Russian historian, I can look this up actually. This Russian historian, I'll have to go to Wikipedia, man. I don't know if that's gonna, if if people well, the quality of my of your show here, I don't want to ruin that. But
well, I mean, Wikipedia is fine when you're looking for a quick answer, but
correct. Yes, correct. You can also go to the sources that Wikipedia uses and use them as your source.
yeah,
Yeah, Phantom Time conspiracy theory.
the Phantom Time, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah. Pseudo historical conspiracy theory first asserted by Herbert Illig in 1991. It hypothesized a conspiracy by the Holy Roman Emperor Otto III and Pope Sylvester II to fabricate the Anno Domini dating system retroactively in order to place them at the special year of AD 1000 and to rewrite history.
right. Yeah, so they just
Well,
kind of, yeah,
well, actually, this guy's German, but but there's another guy that also has the same weird, yeah, Fomenko, new chronology, and it's like he has a 7-book set to prove this.
yeah,
So, you know, so Anatoly Fomenko said that like ancient Greece, Rome, all this stuff that like events that happened then actually happened during the Middle Ages.
Right. So it's much more
So
recent than we think it
right,
is. Yeah.
right, right. So this is how this he said the theory further proposes that world history prior to AD 1600 has been widely falsified to suit the interests of a number of different conspirators, including the Vatican, the Holy Roman Empire, and the Russian House of Romanov.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
I
won't
mean,
try to, I won't try to contradict myself by, saying like all these podcasts that read stuff off of Wikipedia. I don't read too much off of Wikipedia, but that's basically the outline of those two things. So I think that like Tartaria um is kind of like this outgrowth of that, right? It's just
well, it is, but it's also just kind of like the really watered down, dumbed down version of that for the modern age with a short attention
absolutely,
span. Yeah, and
absolutely, absolutely,
that's what a lot of
absolutely.
stuff that's what a lot of stuff is nowadays. I mean, we see it with everything. We see it in ufology and even like paranormal investigation TV shows and stuff like that, where you're just retracing old ground but doing it dumber and simpler and quicker. You know?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
'Cause, I mean, so much of paranormal TV is like just basically Warren stuff, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That's something. Yeah, that's something I actually sort of feel I was like, you should talk about this on the show with Matt. Well, I did like a presentation about that.
Yeah,
Called Everything is Demons. I did that a couple of times. I did it for Change Realities 2021. I did it before that. And like, yeah, you're right, because there is like a predominantly Catholic and specifically traditionalist Catholic worldview behind a lot of those shows.
yeah, yeah,
So like, like the and I don't think this is like some grand conspiracy. I think this is how this has just worked. The Warrens were very visible, but I kind of wanted to refute the idea that the Warrens were just charlatans, because I don't
yeah,
believe that. I think the Warrens were very much they were religious. They had a religion. Their ideology was traditionalist Catholicism,
yeah.
even though they had never truly left the Catholic Church. Um, they used a lot of traditionalist Catholic bishops in some of these exorcisms.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Like
a
Bishop
lot of these
McKenna.
guys,
Yeah,
a lot of these guys that were associated with the Warrens had associations to like the John Birch Society, very, very arch conservative, traditionalist Catholic.
hmm.
Okay, like and when I say traditionalist Catholic, what I mean by that is people that don't recognize the Second Vatican Council.
Right, right.
Okay, which was pulling the church into the Catholic Church to more of like an ecumenical. We're going to get along with everybody. We're not the only Catholic, we're a Christian church.
Hmm.
Uh, and by the way, like we're going to do the mass we don't have to do the mass in Latin anymore. For some reason, that was like the big break of not doing like that was we can't
Hmm.
as not accept the mass being in Latin and being in the actual language of the people that are actually there that don't understand fucking Latin.
Right.
But that was the big like who cares?
Yeah.
Like wasn't Latin like the language of the people that put Christ on the cross? Like I don't get it. But anyway,
Right.
like that's beside the point. You
And
know,
before that, the New Testament was in Greek. So, like,
yeah,
what's the
right,
big deal?
right, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So it's just, we've just been doing this way for 1500 or nearly 2000 years. Why are you changing it?
Yeah. Well, really,
Yeah.
10,000
So
if you take out those 500 years the Catholic Church invented. But
that's
go on.
true. That's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We need to learn, we're because we're we're using the language of the Roman state that
Right.
used to persecute us. But anyway, that we are the Roman state now. But that's a whole other. I'll talk about history all night, man, if you let me. But like the so when I say that, that's what I mean. But I think that they were really like I mean I believe that Lorraine was a true believer. I believe she believed all her bullshit. And I say that in a very Robert Anton Wilson kind way.
Right.
But like Ed, maybe, maybe he could see the showmanship because you hear stories like the infield haunting. He wanted to be a part of that, and like, and then the second Conjuring movie, they're the heroes and they had nothing to do with it.
They were never even really there.
They just tried to get like, Ed tried to insert himself in it and like, don't you want to like, get rid of these demons?
Yeah.
And so it's just, man, it's the battle of good and evil. It's it's like the demons are trying to pull you away from God, and particularly they're trying to pull you away from the Holy Roman Catholic Church. I'm probably offending a whole bunch of people, but that's the mentality. That's the mentality that they had, and the people and their relatives and people that around them have. John Zaffis is very influenced by it. The guy that was like the cop they made the movie about, I can't remember his name.
I don't know that one. But like the Ghost Hunters team too, the whole TAPS team, I think was kind of out of that tradition, or the original TAPS team.
And so, Paranormal State.
Yeah.
Brian Buell, came from that too, because he was good friends, with Lorraine. So that particular point of view gets translated, that kind of Catholic traditionalist point of view of this like battle of good and evil. In other words, everything, any spirit that we are, whatever we are, it's like everything was a demon. Everything. Like, infield, that's probably what they were going to try to do. And like infield was, like that was a scientific. I mean, they were trying to be as scientific about that as they possibly could. That's why it's such a good case and why it's so well documented. And there's not too many holes in it.
Yeah.
The guy Lion Playfair,
yeah.
He wrote the book about it.
Right.
But the Warrens would have just turned it into they're demonic, they're demons, and it's just going to be a carnival show, and that's what it would have turned into. Like, did you see the documentary on Netflix about the case that they did, which I think the third Conjuring was about, the werewolf, or was it the werewolf? Like the guy said the guy killed his like girlfriend, his like sister's boyfriend. And
I think it was called the Devil Made Me Do It.
The Devil Made Me Do It. Yeah. And he said that he was possessed by this demon that came from that came from his little brother who was possessed, who the Warrens had come in there and exorcised,
Yeah.
And like it later turns out that the mother, she was managing this huge family, and just like not getting any real peace. So she would mix into the spaghetti sleeping pills, which had hallucinogenic effects.
Yeah. I saw that movie and I don't remember it well enough.
They left that part out.
They made it a thing about...
This is in the Netflix documentary.
Oh, okay.
That's about the actual case.
Because in the movie, there was like some weird fetish doll type thing that was in the crawl space under the house. And that was like the cause of it or something, See, we should have talked about that. That's the third Conjuring movie, I think. We could have done a third.
I mean, I guess we're talking about it right now. Yeah. I don't remember too much of it. be honest with you. I just, it's like, and I can't exactly remember. Like, I think the guy, I guess he got off. I guess he was able to use that as a defense or some temporary insanity or something like that.
Yeah, it was a pretty
But
prominent court case because
yeah,
using that as a defense.
well,
Yeah,
that was up there, right? It was in like Connecticut, right? Wasn't it?
Connecticut
Was it
somewhere.
Connecticut? Yeah,
Connecticut's a weird place. I'll tell you.
Connecticut is a weird place. I've
Yeah,
driven through it, but the uh like the haunting in Connecticut story, the more that you dig into that, the less, it holds up.
right,
That
right.
was one that I was just like, oh my God, this is real. And like, I was absolutely convinced, because
Mhm.
I watched The Haunting, man. Why would they lie to me?
Right.
You
And then
know,
of course
you got to be telling me the
Amityville.
truth.
Yeah,
In Amityville, which they kind of inserted themselves in a way in Amityville.
right.
They Amityville is weird too,
Hmm.
but I think that there was a basis for these things. I think there could have been real things that happened, paranormal things that happened. Maybe not so much in the case of the woman, the mother, like drugging her entire family and them
Yeah,
losing their
right.
minds, probably because of it, because she probably overdid it.
Yeah,
But like, um, which in that case, it's like, how could you not see that there's a cycle that obviously that's probably was,
right.
and you know,
Well, it was
weird
one of their ghostwriters
mass
came.
hysteria, living in this heavily religious home, and
Yeah,
just you start hearing voices, and then it's you don't know your mom's doing this to you. You don't
yeah,
know until 20 years later your mom is doing
right.
this to you because they found a letter where she talked about it, where she said everyone's had their little pills tonight and they're all
Jeez.
sleeping.
Wow. Yeah, and it wasn't.
Like
I
she
think it
could
was
have
like,
killed somebody.
yeah, especially if you're doing that
She
to a
may have
kid.
actually gotten some, like you don't
Right.
know. Did that
Yeah.
happen to the guy that killed to the older brother? Was he
Yeah.
being drugged too? So like, but the haunting in Connecticut story just it doesn't hold up. The more you dig into it, it doesn't hold up.
Right.
And like, there's just I mean you could probably find it somewhere when I was doing research on all this. And I actually watched the episode of like Sally Jesse Raphael where they talked about the guy was talking about being sodomized by a spirit and all this shit. And like they actually brought the neighbors on there to confront them and say, like, look, like nothing like this has been going on. You people are just like you're not telling the truth. It's like we checked with and the Warrens are like, okay, I can actually explain this. Possibly. The Warrens are saying that, yeah, we brought in a priest and all this kind of stuff. We brought in a priest to do the exorcism, and the neighbors hit back on that and they say, well, we called the diocese and the church said we didn't send anybody out there. And they
Yeah.
think, oh, that's it, they got him, that's a zinger. Well, it actually isn't, because the Warrens use traditionalist Catholic priests a
Right.
lot,
Yeah.
and they were outside of the mainstream Roman Catholic Church. They
Or
were
like
just their
Bishop
own free
McKenna.
agents. People,
Yeah.
McKenna, yeah,
Yeah.
McKenna was one of them. Uh, and McKenna had all these weird um, right-wing Catholic links. He was linked
Hmm.
to this other Catholic priest that was a member of the John Birch Society.
Hmm.
Um, they had links back to this really traditionalist right-wing order in France in the 70s. Okay. Malachi Martin was part of all this stuff too. And Malachi
Yeah.
Martin was almost about as right wing as you could get.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, he was like the religion correspondent or like the guy for like William F. Buckley's firing line. Not too many people know that, but he
Yeah. I
was
didn't know that.
a constant on the William F. Buckley show.
Right.
Okay. See, a lot of this stuff is really kind of like,
and on the Art Bell show eventually. I mean, he,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You hear him all the time, you
right.
know? And just like I just read a book by Malachi Martin, the first one I've ever read, right? And it's called The Decline and Fall of the Roman Church. You're not really getting into the black masses in the Vatican or any of the juicy shit, the perfect possession, all the good stuff about Malachi
Mm,
Martin. You just get into kind of this like turgid history of the church of how, and later on in the book, it's just all about how bad liberation theology is and how John
yeah,
Paul II needs to do something about this communist influenced um, liberation theology. And but there's stuff that like he does these narrative parts in this thing where he's describing some event, and he and you go and you look up what really happened, and it's like that's not how it happened. He just made that shit up.
wow.
He just made that up.
Huh. See, I never read any of his history stuff. I have Hostage to the Devil around here somewhere.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't think I
yeah,
ever read all of it, but
yeah.
I
So
do
it's
have it.
it's
Yeah,
it's creative. It's creative writing class.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It just what could help him. But a lot of these things that these people did because it was ideological,
yeah, yeah.
and it was religious, and it was ideological.
But see,
Uh,
that's the funny thing is that it can be religious and ideological, but also a hoax and also legitimately spooky at the same time. Like
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
exclude the possibility that there were paranormal things going
Well,
on with some of these cases, you know. But
one
they
of the
mischaracterize it completely and fake stuff, so it
right,
doesn't help. You
right.
know? Yeah,
One of the things I dug into somewhat about this when I was talking about the exorcism part of just like going through these various exorcisms was the Annalise Michelle
yeah,
exorcism. Okay, I mean, if people have seen the exorcism of Emily Rose, that's the actual case is Annalise Michelle, 1970s Germany. She's 18 years old. She supposedly gets possessed. She's eating spiders and she's slowly wasting away. And later on, they actually bring the priest to trial because they felt like they were completely irresponsible. Um, who knows what was really going on, whether she was schizophrenic, what was going, I mean, that it's nebulous because just nobody knows.
yeah. Really
And
sad
and
story.
and it, and
Yeah.
it and it's behind this religious veneer.
Hmm.
And so like she but she would make statements about supposed statements that were from her that would say the world needs to we need to come back to the one and true church. We need to, um there were statements in there that was just like, almost a direct reference to Vatican II.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, what a mistake it was. Because I mean, she allegedly she would also predict like things that were about to happen. You know, she would say like, "Oh, you know, so and so is going to have a difficult time getting here," and somebody gets in a car crash on the way to the place where she was. You know, um, so there were recorded instances of her seemingly being clairvoyant on some level
yeah,
while she was
yeah,
possessed. You know, yeah, it's
yeah.
like,
I think, yeah. So again, it's like I think like it kind of sounds like I'm being. Yeah. Let me share this before I go on with that thought though. So on my PowerPoint, I put Annalise stated she was supposed to die to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church.
okay,
This exorcism is like 1975, 1976 is when this happens. Vatican II was like 1963, 62, I think, whenever, or 65 actually was when it was, because it started by one pope and then finished by another.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 10 years later. There is nothing else that apostate priests of the modern church refers to.
Right. Yeah.
So apparently this is so important as she's being possessed that just like, this Vatican II thing is not a good idea. Where is this coming from? Where is this story? Who came up with this?
Yeah.
Like, the like something like the miracles at Fatima. Whatever happened at Fatima, I believe real shit happened at Fatima. Who knows what the fuck actually did, but something happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that has been something that has been used to, that was the greatest anti-communist propaganda the church ever had.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Well, and then The Exorcist was right around that time too. That movie.
Yeah, 1973. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's yeah. I mean, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, I think the movies that that come out, starting with like Rosemary's Baby. I think really Rosemary's Baby is first.
Yeah.
Even though there's no real Christianity in it, really. It's just they're all Satanists, right?
Right.
But the idea that it's the Antichrist, so you've got that kind of tangential thing, but then you get the Exorcist and you get the Omen,
Well, I kind of got
and
the
all these
sense.
movies have an influence, I think.
I got the sense specifically with The Exorcist, though, that William Peter Blatty was kind of in that vein of intentionally trying to influence people and scare them back to the church. Because I mean, he knew he like studied under an exorcist, like a legit exorcist, right? But didn't he know somebody personally that was? And I feel like during
Well, so
promotional,
so he had I mean William Peter Blatty, I mean he was like, I mean he went to Georgetown,
right?
and he was which was a Jesuit college. And
Hmm.
that's actually the college that's actually what's depicted in The Exorcist is Georgetown University.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but like, here's another interesting thing about William Peter Blatty, and a lot of people don't know, is when he was in the Air Force, he was in psychological warfare.
right, right. Okay, well, there you have it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So and definitely, just a talented writer and able to pull on that emotion, able to pull on the religious things. But that's what you do in psychological warfare.
yeah, yeah.
You're pulling on religious and emotional heartstrings.
Right.
That's psychological warfare. I mean, that's what you do. You're either you're slow you're either separating or you're demoralizing a society.
Yeah. Well, I hope nothing like that ever happens to us in
I
the
know.
United
I
States
mean,
here.
that would be horrible, wouldn't it? To be completely demoralized like that. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, I don't think. I don't think that he set out that way. I mean, I think really he was trying to write a. He became interested, but it's interesting that he has that background.
mhm.
And so you obviously have the talents when you get into the private sector. You can write some effective stuff,
Right.
and so, but he had heard the story of the exorcism in St. Louis,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
1949 exorcism, which before it is taken over, which the family wasn't really even Catholic. I believe they were Lutheran. So I guess they felt
Yeah.
they were close enough. I don't know. But like, it- you know, and at first, J.B. Ryan was, from the Ryan Institute was involved in it
Yeah.
because there was like, what is that? When shit moves around, telekinesis, shit like that.
Hmm.
Um, so I think a lot of these things, it's like, I think there's something real going on, something, and it's really just in the way people interpret it, this
Yeah.
phenomenon. It's just the way that you interpret it. And if it gets interpreted into a religious context, and it can be used, of course, it can be used as some kind of religious propaganda. Of
Yeah.
course. I mean,
But
I
that's
think
what's
it's just, it's something that happens. One of the things that was interesting, when I did that presentation, you mentioned The Exorcist. So, the guy, that plays, Father Karras
mhm.
in it, uh, there's the Smurl haunting, which is this, there's a Smurl haunting that happens, which is the in Pennsylvania, which was, in like the mid '80s, and McKenna is actually involved with that. Um, but there's a picture that I have, that I used because the same hometown that Jason Miller, who played Karras
Yeah,
in The
yeah.
Exorcist, he he is like standing in front of this Morrow haunting because he was from that town.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
where there's like exorcism was going on, he was interested in this. He was interested in what was happening because he was from the town. He'd been in this movie, and so there's like had a picture of him standing in front of the house. Like, how wild is that?
Yeah, it is pretty
So it's
wild.
like it's fiction influencing the real world, influencing fiction, fiction influencing the real world. It's this meta narrative. It
Mhm.
becomes real because it becomes real because of the stories that are told about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
We
it's
don't
like a
know what
feedback
the
loop.
fuck
Yeah.
actually happened,
Yeah.
but like I didn't finish even finish like the haunting in Connecticut story because like, um it came out that, the guy that ghost wrote the book about the haunting in Connecticut, he had problems talking to the family
Mhm.
because he's like, nobody had their story straight. You go talk to the mom, one story. You go talk to the dad, another story. You go talk to the kids, another story. Nobody had their story straight. So he went to Ed, and he said, Ed Warren, and he said, "Hey, I can't get these people can't get their story straight. I don't know if I can write this book." And Ed actually looked at him. This is the author says this,
Yeah.
and he says, Ed looks at him and says, "The family is crazy. So if you have to make some things up, make some things up."
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like,
And then it just becomes everybody's like, it's real. It's a real story.
yeah, based on a true story.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
it's just kind of like we know they're crazy, but your job is to write a book about demons, and that's what you're gonna do. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like at the end of the day, it's like, hey man, you went to college for this, figure it
right,
out.
yeah.
You know,
Well, I
like
know,
it doesn't matter if it's real, bro.
yeah,
What are
exactly.
you trying to do? You trying to,
Just
I
make
mean,
us look like
Hunter S.
superheroes that
Thompson
came in
made
and
shit
saved the
up
day.
all the
Yeah,
time, right?
yeah,
Like, I mean, Hunter S. Thompson probably made up adrenochrome. I mean, for all we know.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was going to ask you. I know you said before we started recording that you haven't been keeping up with the paranormal news, but since we're talking the Warrens, have you kept up with any of like the Annabelle stuff that was going on?
Well, yeah, the guy that died.
Yeah, yeah. I I, I didn't even really want to touch that conversation online or anything because I'm like, oh man, the guy died. It's like I didn't want to be disrespectful towards him, and I don't really know much about him, but yeah, I mean, it's I felt like that's just going to add to the credibility of the whole Annabelle thing for the gullible. Uh,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's well, it adds to the myth.
right.
It's just another addition to the myth.
Yeah, yeah. Well, One thing I always wonder about though with that stuff is how much it picks up and how much it catches on with the broader public when so many of them aren't Catholic. It's like you mentioned, even with the Roland Doe case, that family wasn't Catholic. I think it was a Catholic hospital though, and maybe they had like a chaplain there that
Yeah, and it was Jesuits that performed the ceremony. So this
right.
is how performed the exorcism. So this is how later on, when he's at
Yeah.
Georgetown,
It always comes back to
William
the
Peter Blatty
Jesuits.
hears about this.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's real life influencing fiction, fiction influencing real life, and back to fiction. It's just a huge feedback loop.
Yeah, I mean, but what I get around to though is like people that aren't Catholic, people that are maybe even agnostic or atheist, and just watching this type of media, like buy it without. You'd think it would only really affect Catholics. Like I was brought up with the idea that The Exorcist was the scariest movie ever made because my mom was traumatized by it when she saw it when it first came out because she was Catholic, and I always figured it's the Catholic part of that really struck a chord with her. But it seems like it doesn't really matter. Like the public picks up
I
on
don't.
demons
Yeah.
regardless.
It could have affected. I mean, it's a possibility because, like, look, I mean, you see those footage of like people in urban areas, falling out, people like New York City and
Yeah,
places that would probably have a very higher Catholic population. Maybe there was more of an effect. What I find interesting though is how, a lot of the people that I have met in ghost hunting communities don't come from Catholic backgrounds. They come from Protestant backgrounds. They come from evangelical backgrounds, but yet
yeah.
they're being influenced by a specific form of Catholicism.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not making a judgment call on this. I don't want people to think that that's what, like, oh, Catholic, I'm an raging anti-Catholic. I'm not. But,
Adam Sayne, known
but it's
anti-papist.
anti-papist. Yes. I'm Oliver Cromwell all the way. I have a big picture of him, it's like,
Yeah,
we need to do something about this papist plot. The but it's I think it's something that perpetuates the myth, but I find it interesting that like those two things, like, but those people don't see it that way. They don't see the influence of Catholicism
hmm.
on
Yeah,
some of these ghost hunting shows, and then some of them are taking that same and putting it in a more evangelical context, which there's a lot of demons there too, right?
yeah,
So those
yep.
two can agree with each other that demons are everywhere, and we have to do something about this problem.
Oh, it's spiritual warfare, I guess, is the linking thing there.
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, but I found it interesting that like you know it's a good it's a good way to actually like go across that aisle, I suppose. But most people aren't thinking about it in those terms.
Yeah,
I guess would be what I'm trying to say. I think.
yeah, yeah. It's just kind of odd to me that predominates. I guess it's kind of almost like almost like a sword and sorcery version of paranormal investigation in a way because it's good versus evil, as opposed to
Yeah. Oh
like
yeah.
what you
It's
would think
great
of as
stuff.
a more scientific parapsychological sort of thing, which is what I was always more attracted to growing up. I liked like the JB
Yeah.
Ryan sort of thing. And
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I think I was a little more just like I wanted the juicy shit, man. I wanted, there's demons I want to know, like I want to fucking know. And because there's demons, there's gotta be angels, and there's angels. I mean, God exists, right? So I could prove this whole thing right now.
Hmm.
And that was kind of like my, like my whole like I think my whole mentality of why I just eat that stuff up. It's just like it's the unsolved mysteries in me, right? It's like
Yeah,
staying
yeah,
just like deliberately freaking myself out over the unsolved mysteries theme.
yeah.
Um, but like it, it's it's really just like, you know, when you hear like John Zaffis tell his story about being in the haunting in Connecticut house, and like, you know, the thing with like all the arms and like, it's all fucked up, and it's like, you know, so like that's,
Yeah,
I'm like, it's fucking great, man. It's amazing. I don't care if that didn't happen or not. It's still incredible.
it's entertaining for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you?
It's just like
Did you grow? Did you grow up Catholic?
I do not.
Oh,
My
okay.
I was baptized in the Episcopalian Church.
Episcopalian. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of close though, right? Similar.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how I grew up, and I, you know, I kind of was more, you know, I would say like, I was kind of more went the evangelical route for a little while,
Hmm.
but I've since, you know, I've changed my ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Interesting. Yeah.
you know,
Um. Well, I was gonna. Geez.
well, that's a
Feel
whole
bad that.
other. I could go on about that all that shit that I saw in that community for hours. Like I just like I'll tell you like some of the weirdness.
In the
Um,
evangelical stuff.
yeah, especially like the
Yeah.
stuff dealing with like the Nephilim and like all that. Like
Were you handling
I
snakes
was
and stuff?
deep in a lot of that shit. You know, deep. Not snake handling, but
No.
just
Well, okay. Yeah,
that's
this
just
is something
come on.
this is something that I think maybe a southern thing that never happens up here, but I'm always perplexed by references to Nephilim, and like parts of my mind just shuts down whenever that comes up, where I'm just like, okay, gotta go. But what is that really like?
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah,
I guess I didn't
we
get
can get
a.
into it a
Okay,
little. Yeah,
well, okay, yeah. So this idea uh comes from the sixth chapter of the book of Genesis. At
yeah.
the very beginning, it says the sons of God saw the daughters of men, saw that they were fair, and basically had relations with them, and they produced in probably like the King James version, it's like the heroes of old, the men of renown. In other,
Hmm.
it's actually pronounced from the Hebrew Nephilim. That's what they call them. And supposedly, these were giants that existed upon the earth before the flood, and then they came back after the flood somehow. And these beings are the hybrid beings between humans and angelic fallen angels that taught us all the um it taught us how to like do different things like, you know, uh make bronze and shit to like abortions, and you
Hmm.
know, there's like a wide range of teaching humanity before the flood. And then the flood is supposed in this Christian kind of belief, very it's fringe, but it's definitely out there. And like I said, it's become like they believe there's people that believe that like Bigfoot is a Nephilim. Bigfoot
Okay.
is this like creature that is a remnant of the Nephilim, right?
Hmm.
So, you know, there's people that actually believe this.
Yeah.
First, you got to believe in Bigfoot. Second, you got to believe that Bigfoot is that, well, yeah, he's a Nephilim. He's a demon. And so, you know, this who knows what it really refers to? I mean, you know, you know what I
Well, don't
mean?
they also
Like,
bring up like giant skeletons that are like hidden
yeah,
by the
that's another
Smithsonian?
part of it. That's another part of it is that like there were giants in North
Yeah.
America, and the Smithsonian has been covering it up. And you know, there's two ways to go with that. You can look at it just like, interesting, there were giants. That's interesting. But then, you know, you'll have this more kind of evangelical Christian school of thought
Right.
that says, oh, well, that was actually the Nephilim
Okay.
that did that. And and they're covering it up because there was this one lady that had this wild idea, Joy Jeffries Pugh. She said that like there's the bloodline of Cain, which is actually apart from the Nephilim thing. So you've got the bloodline of Cain, right? And like, these people somehow survived the flood and they're still around and they're like, Princess, Queen Elizabeth is the bloodline of Cain, or like, I guess King Charles now would be the bloodline of Cain.
Yeah.
But then she had this other crazy idea that, they'd taken that Prince William was a genetic clone of Jesus because they took the blood from the Shroud of Turin. And so Prince William is actually a genetic clone of Jesus. Therefore, he's the Antichrist because he's the clone of Jesus. Makes
Love
sense
it.
to me, man. I don't
I
know
love
why
it.
you're laughing.
But King
It's just
Charles is
serious.
actually of the bloodline of Dracula, though.
He is of the bloodline of Dracula. That's right. Alex Jones said that many times. They're from Transylvania.
Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, once upon a time, Alex Jones was kind of fun. People
Yeah, it
forget that.
was. He was. He just got co-opted.
Yeah, yeah. He got co-opted by the Nephilim and replaced by an organic robotoid. We'll just throw all these things in a
Absolutely.
blender.
Absolutely. But you know what? We're not co-opted. We're not. But maybe we want to be co-opted. I don't know. But like,
Yeah.
we're not co-opted. So if there's anyone who wants to co-opt us, just let us know.
Right. I'm prepared to sell out. So if you've got the money.
Oh Lord.
Good stuff. Well, I, I don't think we can really top that. Um,
It's been a jam, man. I appreciate you having me on. I may have been a little more honest than I wanted to be, but I do appreciate you having me on to do this.
yeah,
So,
well, it was great. It
we
was
didn't
great
even
to,
get to the Cottingley fairies. I mean, that's okay.
yeah,
We can talk
yeah,
about that next time.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, it had been too long since I heard your voice, and it's good to just kind of shoot the shit
Thank
and
you,
hang
man.
out.
Yeah, same
Yeah,
here. Yeah, we'll get you. I'll get this thing going back on, man. I'll get you back on the show. We'll continue this. We'll do part 2 on Conspirinormal.
yeah, hell yeah. So be looking forward to that, listeners. If you're not already, go make sure you're subscribed to Conspirinormal and ready for the comeback. And um, thanks so much for coming on, Adam. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. Or
Yeah,
AP.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Either or. Yeah.
All right.